solution. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Love, respect, unselfishness and cooperation. That's all we need to build a strong nation. We are the people to make the changes. We are the changes to WUB. And all the things that will feel happen like I got blue skies. And nothing make people get victimized. Let's work together for better. We got to unite. Belize, yeah. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Another day is here. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. We gotta keep moving. Na 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 na. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Everybody gotta put their time in. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Voice our opinion and place your calling. WUB. Get up, make every day count. Don't waste it, people. Do your part, play your role, get where you need to. You can tune in from work or in your vehicle. If you got a problem, pick up the phone. Why wait till the time? Calling is a show. It no matter even if you're at home. Just call in. WUB. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Another day is here. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. We gotta keep moving. Na 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 na. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Everybody gotta put the time in. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Voice our opinion and place your calling. WUB. Be yourself, see yourself. This is the show, my people. Belize our hope, so to need less reason. Nobody feel left out, is the vibe we're dealing. Let's find a solution. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Love, respect, unselfishness and cooperation. That's all we need to build a strong nation. We are the people to make the changes. We are the changes. WUB. And all the things that will feel happen like I got blue skies. And nothing that people get victimized. Let's work together for better. We got to unite. Belize, yeah. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Another day is here. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. We gotta keep moving. Na 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 na. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Everybody gotta put the time in. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Voice our opinion and place your calling. WUB.
Good morning, Belize. Welcome to the WUB Wake Up Belize Morning Vibes for Wednesday, 29th January 2025. I'm Mose, Hyde, and you guys are the stars of the morning by being here. Whether you are listening to Creme Radio, you're watching XTV, or got us on our apps, or you've got social media streams going on, or it is you've linked via Simulcast. We're glad you're there. I hope you're there for talk, because that's what we do. This is Belize's premier morning conversation, an inclusive process that requires you to jump in. But before we do that, of course, we hope that you have great health this morning, great energy, vibrations positive, and a spacious enough morning that you could link and also get in and express your thoughts and views. Before we do all of that, we have a little bit of housekeeping stuff, preliminary stuff to do. First of all, we got to find out what the weather is going to look like for today, and for that we turn to the National Meteorological Service, and that will be followed by a morning news update that is prepped by our news team here at Creme Radio XTV. Right now we do turn to forecaster Tariq Matthews to find out what kind of forecast is ahead.
Good morning, Belize. A slightly moist easterly airflow prevails. The 24-hour forecast: sunny skies with a few cloudy spells today and cloudy at times tonight. Showers will be isolated with a chance of slightly more over central and southern areas today. Then, an increase in shower activity is expected mainly along the coast late tonight. The maximum temperatures for today will reach 84 degrees Fahrenheit along the coast, 86 inland and 75 up in the hills. The low temperatures for tonight will be around 76 degrees Fahrenheit along the coast, 72 inland and 64 up in the hills. The winds will be from the east at 10 to 15 knots and the sea conditions will be moderate. A high tide will occur this morning at 10:37, a low tide this evening at 3:40, another high tide tonight at 9:58, and another low tide early tomorrow morning at 5:09. The sun will rise this morning at 6:25 and will set this evening at 5:46. The moon will rise this morning at 6:39 and will set this evening at 6:09. In the sargassum forecast, impacts from sargassum are expected to remain minimal during the next few days. The outlook for Thursday and Thursday night: partly cloudy to cloudy skies. A few showers will occur mainly over northern and central areas Thursday morning, with shower activity decreasing and becoming isolated by Thursday afternoon. For a review of our forecast and other products, please visit our website at nms.gov.bz. With that, we end this morning's forecast from the Belize National Met Service.
The first private in Belize since 1989, Creme FM presents the news. Informative, accurate, current information, local, regional, and international news, weather and sports. And now, the news.
Commenting during a morning show simulcast on social media yesterday, Commissioner of Police Chester Williams confirmed that 24-year-old Emil Rivers was shot to his abdomen. As you may be aware, the spokesperson for the department, ACP Gilberto Romero, at Monday's police briefing reported that Rivers was shot to his leg. Rivers' mother, Marlene Rivers, however, said her son was shot both to his back and stomach. At newstime Monday evening, she provided an image of the bandage wound to the back. We have now confirmed that the police report prepared by Independence Police states Rivers was shot to the leg once by PC Sheldon Arzu, and when he still posed a threat, one officer used a plastic chair to try to disarm him. With that being unsuccessful, the report says Arzu fired again to his leg, and that is when they say he finally released the machete he had picked up in a yard while being chased. Additionally, the Compol said in his comment that the identity of the shooter is irrelevant and that what matters is whether the use of force was justified. As we shared, Arzu was removed from the force after being convicted of manslaughter for a 2003 shooting in the Keekarka police station. He was sentenced to 13 years in prison in 2005. People have since questioned why he was rehired in the department. And his mother says he was shot to the abdomen at close range, causing his intestine to be ruptured. She shared that after surgery, doctors managed to close the abdominal wound. On Monday, he was critical but stable. In her interview on Monday, she affirmed that the police officers knew that Emil is battling a mental health condition. And while the police said the other injuries he had on him were sustained when he jumped out of the mobile and when they tried to subdue him, she says the injuries are consistent with a beatdown.
The police knew that my son have a psychiatric problem. They knew. They cannot be saying that they don't know. When my son started with his abnormal behavior in July, there's no male living in our house, you know. I was seeking their help, as is a norm. That what I know about as a nurse. I know that police go get crazy man or people with abnormal behavior, bring them to the emergency, they get treated. The police go for them. That what I know. I made about 200 calls. And I had two other persons calling the station to ask the police to come and assist us to get this guy to the polyclinic so he could get treatment, so I could carry out at Dangriga. I had already contacted the psychiatrist at Dangriga. We already contacted the psychiatrist nurse or doctor, I don't know if she's a doctor, here at Palmview for his admission. Police did not render me assistance. I went to the station, made an official report. 2 days, they still didn't get him. One sergeant even mentioned, I will soon be retiring. If crazy man hurt me, I will lose everything. I will not risk that. Another one said that they're not trained to deal with that. And that crazy man that the medical authorities need for train that, or the family need for bring him to the polyclinic. And I had already explained there is no males in this family. We can't bring him. He's strong. He's stronger than we. They still never assist me. So they knew from July, they knew of his condition. 2 days ago, after I made that official report and they type it up and everything and I sign and everything, somebody else went and make a report. And that person saw the same report that I made right there on the desk. They don't file it, they don't do nothing. The person made her report too, and still nothing was being done. If they had assisted me from that time, he may have dead a palm view long time, he wouldn't have been shot. And the possibilities of being dead. Because that abdominal shot could have killed my son.
So you're a nurse?
I am a nurse.
So based on your expertise and years of service,
35 years.
35 years, are his injuries consistent with that of like a beating?
Yes, they are. And the situation that he's in right now is result of the shooting from the abdominal wound. So my son was critical.
She also says police did not issue him with a medical legal form. As we shared, the mother says she'll pursue legal action. A woman in her late 60s, identified as Sonia Sambula, perished in a house fire Monday night. Police were called to the scene at around 11 p.m. where they observed a two-story wooden home on fire. After the fire had been put out, authorities extracted the elderly woman's remains. One of Sambula's daughters and her 3 children lived downstairs. Sambula's sister-in-law, Malikia Flores Sambula, told us via phone that everyone was sleeping when the fire broke out and they suspect arson was involved.
I spoke to the grandchildren that live downstairs. They're saying that they were sleeping and they heard someone came to holler. They said they didn't hear this, no mind. So a little bit after they fell asleep, they said like couple minutes later you feel heat, like smell smoke, but the time they ran outside, the house was already in flame. I guess when the door was jammed, because she's up on the upper floor.
And she was able to walk freely? And
what happened? She was supposed to take a surgery. So she was moving, but she cannot move the way she's supposed to because of her illness.
It seems everyone in the community only has really good things to share about her.
Yes, because she was an outgoing person. She was very religious. She helped a lot of elderly. She spoke to her grandchildren and her family. She loves to dance too. She's a very friendly person.
The cause of the fire is being investigated. Flores Sambula told us everything was lost in the fire. During the opening of the senior courts on January 20th, Chief Justice Honorable Louise Esther Lenman described the lack of trial transcripts from the High Court as a complicating factor for judges in the appellate jurisdiction to move cases along.
Despite the readiness and willingness of the appellate justices to hear appeals, the listing of cases for hearing in the Court of Appeal has been seriously impeded by the lack of availability of High Court trial transcripts. An unfortunate consequence of the lack of trial transcripts is that relatively few appeals are ready to be listed for hearing. As a corollary, the dispensation of justice is ingloriously stymied at the level of the appellate court. The situation is untenable and is caused to a large extent by the difficulties with the recording technology that was used in the High Courts over the years, and also the paucity of stenographer trainees to produce the transcripts. We have given deliberate consideration to these difficulties and have set in motion some measures to address them. Firstly, last year, we introduced status hearings in the Court of Appeal. Those hearings permit the court and attorneys to forge path forward in the absence of the full record of proceedings in the court below. For example, counsel have been encouraged to collaborate and use their personal notes to compile agreed records of lower court proceedings so that some of the outstanding appeals were heard. Also, counsel has been encouraged to determine whether the issue on appeal is purely one of law, thereby obviating the need for transcript. Secondly, We have received funding from both Pace Justice and the Government of Belize to obtain speech-to-text or FTR recording technology, and we expect to acquire that by the end of March 2025. This will assist us in mitigating the transcript issues for new cases. And while we express our gratitude in anticipation of this much-needed equipment, it will not solve the problem of the old trials. So in this regard, I would invite the lawyers to come together and cooperate to seek to produce transcripts or to use their notes or to find methods so that we can have some of those appeals proceed.
Chief Justice Blenman also reported on the concern from stakeholders that they could not locate High Court judgments. She explained what was done to correct the situation.
There were many complaints from persons and attorneys that they did not have ready access to local judgments. And therefore, a website committee was established in the Office of the Chief Justice last year to recommend the modernization of our court's website. This committee was led by judges and had tremendous support from attorneys at law from the public and the private bar. We have been able to have a soft launch of our new website. The new user-friendly website now hosts judgments and provides information on our senior courts and integrates local judgments. We hope to do this also in a way that's easily searchable. And within the next few months, our website will be fully populated with more of our judgments and will feature an enhanced search facility, which is user-friendly. The goal is to include all of our judgments on the website so that all Belizeans and all litigants and the public could have access to these documents.
Blenman committed to have their website regularly updated to serve as its main communication medium for court users. The court also now has Facebook and YouTube pages. U.S. President Donald Trump last week signed an executive order which required the U.S. federal government to change the name of the body of water known globally as the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. On Monday evening, Google clarified on their X, formerly Twitter account, that for Google Maps, the name will appear as the Gulf of America when Google Maps is being used in the U.S. Google explained that when official names vary between countries, map users see their official local name. Everyone in the rest of the world sees both names. That applies here too. The body of water has been known as the Gulf of Mexico since at least the late 1600s. The Gulf of Mexico is roughly the size of the U.S. state of Alaska and is the 9th largest body of water in the world. It is 615,000 square miles in area and spans almost 1,000 miles from east to west and about 660 miles from north to south, with a shoreline of approximately 3,540 miles, more than half of which is in Mexico. And that ends this news update. We invite you to stick around. We take a small break. When we come back, though, we'll open up for the business of conversation. You're listening to Creme Radio. You're watching XTV.
The first private radio in Belize since 1989. The news. Informative, accurate, current information, local, regional, and international news, weather and sports.
Welcome back. This is WB Wakeability's Morning Vibes. It's Wednesday morning, the 29th of January 2025. Mose Hyde hosting today. And if you're just joining us, well, it's good. We are delighted that you're here. You're just in time for the business section of the show, the business, the active side, the gumption of the thing, right here. We've completed our warm-ups and we're about to set sail now. Get out there. Let's have this great conversation that we do each weekday morning. It can't be a conversation without you. Otherwise, it's just a preaching and sermon and me to run my mouth. Conversation means you call. And the number you have to call is 280-5848. That is the live line for you to participate in the conversation. We hope that you take that bold step today. All right, great. While you get yourself arranged to make it and jump in, we will proceed. So, always stuff to talk about. We now had some more information as it relates to mental health patient who was shot while trying to get away from police custody. And what we reported on yesterday was that there were different versions. Later on in the show, we got an update from our news editor, Marisol Amaya, telling us that the police commissioner had confirmed that there was a shot to the abdomen. And in our news report this morning, we kind of filled that out. Again, like I said yesterday, that is very troubling that the information, there is discrepancy in the information officially, that we were told one thing by the police spokesperson, because that's what he has represented. Inspector Romero said there was no abdomen shot. That was confirmed later on yesterday by the commissioner. So that's troubling. And then another point of concern that has been reported in our news is that the alleged shooter on record is an officer that previously had been convicted for a similar, a grave offense. He was convicted for, somebody being killed in custody, and he served jail time. And the question is, well, that is not a good look for the fact that somebody has been rehired after having that situation. Now, this is not to condemn the guy, he's done his time, but we have a call. Good morning, WB.
Good morning, boss.
Good morning.
I also ask you one question.
Yes, sir.
The other day, last week, I believe the international vice president of Alabama said to me, and I said that our properties, 3 Alabama in courts that cost like crazy money. To get no cooperation from the government. Because they need locations to put these courts, so the government, not the feeling that I found, and again, when they give you anything plus, I think, $500 in equipment every year. 500,000, something like that. So I don't know, Taliban from big and small, but I suppose everything I could be now for the street, right?
Right.
And this government refused something with it. I mean, I don't know what are the real situation, but what the vice president himself is saying.
But asking me to provide an answer as to why this government, or any government for that matter, would turn down, might as well ask me what is the nature of the universe and what happened before the Big Bang. So I'm sorry, I have severe limitations. I talk every morning, but that don't mean, brother, that I know that much. I can't answer that question. What I think about it, I think one, since it seems on the surface of it to be something that cannot be explained, that at the very least the government ought to say why it is it has not accepted such a generous gift.
Exactly.
Yes, sir.
That was my point. I mean,
Enlighten us, please.
street courts could keep like hundreds of people
Yes,
out
sir.
of the street.
Enlighten us, please.
Out of the street, I support. So this is something where baffles me.
Brother, I think you would not be alone in that category as being
I hope not. I really hope not, because
I am telling you that
I hope I'm not the only person who will listen to what it's done said.
I didn't hear it, I didn't see a report of it, but I will take your word for it that that's what the man said. That's what the man said. And
in his own words, that the government is not cooperating and trying to get anything.
Yeah, like that's just not something that I could explain. I join you in being baffled. Sign me up to that. Sign me up to that team.
I wish they would have changed that kind of policies, man. I mean, this up there.
Because, for example, I know that I have spoken about it before, where we have refused funding because the funding comes with too much tight regulations and conditions.
Yeah,
we know like when it comes to funding, we don't like skinny jeans. So we want to close loose. Just, So while we don't agree with that refusal, at least we understand why they're doing it. Now, if you say,
I think the reason, I don't speculate here.
Speculate, sir.
But I believe the reason they're not focused on that right now is because they're focused on this election coming up.
They say there's a saying, overused saying, which makes it a kind of a cliche thing, but they say, listen, you can walk and chew at the same time.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
So,
another fact that could maybe help them with the election, so listen, I'm sure we do it, that's all. 3 big ballots, so we don't have to give them people space and things are happening, but instead of that, they just ignore the effort. I can't do the vice president, and that's what I was on about. So I know I make no certain after it. I tell her what he said. I know we are the other side, so I look at the other side right here.
Got it, brother. Thanks for at least put that on. Fandong South. Bella. I always said Independence, but Bella Vista.
Yeah, well, I have to say that on both places. I live on Bella Vista, but I do everything independent.
Dual citizenship.
Yes, right. That's right.
Respect, brother.
All right, you guys have a blessed day, all right?
All right, cool. The WB, that's how it's done. There's a call, there's a phone, that's how it works. That's what makes the WB what it is, 280-5848. Utilize it. We definitely have to flag, as our news team has, having an officer who has been convicted of manslaughter of somebody who was in police custody. So it's not an allegation, not a rumor, not something we suspect he did, but was not. This was something that went to court and was proven, and this officer has served his time and was convicted, and that's the process, that's justice as the way it works here. But we have to question the leadership of the police department's discretion to say, oh, we are willing to make you be an active police officer again with a licensed firearm. I guess an argument could be made that, if you want to look out for somebody, you give them a driving job or, something of that nature. It makes no sense. You can't explain why we hire somebody to be in the same position and then to have a case where, once again, even though the circumstances are being disputed right now, the fact remains that somebody has been shot and he is alleged to be the shooter. Krem, good morning, WB.
And good morning, Mose. This is Sandra for a couple points.
Yes.
First of all, let me deal with the port system. I think I heard part of a report just now that they're going to upgrade. Well, the Chief Justice is calling for upgrading the port, especially in the production of the documentary material that the appellate court needs to be able to make its decisions and all of that. And if I understood her rightly, they are now going to turn to technology, this is not, she didn't use this wording, AI, artificial intelligence transcription software. Well, I'd just like to give them an alert, a warning, and diligence, not them so much as diligence. They have found now in the medical area that AI transcription software is doing its own thing at points in transcription. Transcription is, in the medical world, for example, you go in and have an oral interview, and then once upon a time they would send that to a transcription company or a group, and then they would use human transcribers who would convert to written material, the oral material, the spoken material, in the interviews, in the notes of the doctors, the bedside notes, when the doctor comes and does his rounds and makes his comments. In many hospitals, they do this orally into a tape recorder, tape recording device, and then that was transcribed into written material. Well, what they are finding in the medical world is the transcription AI is doing its own thing, inserting its own wording that has nothing to do with what was discussed. This is my suspicion. My suspicion is that when the AI software cannot understand what you are saying, it then decides to put in anything in order to complete the wording, the word count. That is my suspicion. And why I can have that suspicion is I've worked in this area for almost 60 years. Now, AI knows, what we are now calling AI has been around in a primitive form for when they began to make word processors, for example. In the beginning, you couldn't spell check and all of that on a word processor. A word processor is software that you can use to write letters, compositions, essays, all of that kind of thing. So, at a point in time, they inserted a data bank, a dictionary data bank. Then later on, they went to a grammar data bank and so on. So you could check your spelling, you could check your grammar, it can check your punctuation, and if you have a mistake, it would show red, and then it was questionable, it might show green, that sort of thing. That was precursor AI. But in that software was built this dictionary, this thesaurus, this grammar book and so on, were built into the software. Then later on in the 90s, they began to experiment with translation software. I don't mean translation for computer software production, I mean translation for language software. And you had some that were quite good, but none of them could be depended on. You, the human, had to know the language in order to do the correction. And my opinion on this, the same applies now. It was reported in the media either this week or last week, this problem in the medical field. All kind of strange, some of the current are racist. And they are trying to make out that the AI is, well, maybe it has been programmed, but upon thinking of the belief problem, that alerted me. So now you're going to use transcription software in belief to get around the inability, I don't know if it's inability of human transcribers to transcribe correctly or efficiently or fast enough. I'm not sure what is the problem in the belief environment. I can guess the problem, but I can't say that's the definite problem. But the problems I know that definitely exist in the belief environment are language problems. To start with, people go to court in belief who speak Spanish. Our Spanish is terrible. So I don't know how that is dealt with. I have translated in the courts before, interpreted in the courts before. Then we speak, when we go to court, we don't speak English, standard English necessarily. Not the lawyers, not the judges, and not the witnesses necessarily. Some people will speak, can only operate in Creole, but we don't have a written, what transcription material, what transcription software will produce for that. Then we come to our usage of English, which is more non-standardized on many an occasion. So how are you going to deal with that? And so I'm just issuing that warning, because yes, you can upgrade, yes, AI, but do not think that AI can be depended upon to do everything, especially in the sociocultural, highly nuanced sociocultural setting we live in, linguistic at that, and cultural at that. You're going to run into trouble. The same kind of trouble. It is thinking of this problem as I heard it on the radio. I thought, so probably in my mind, what's happening in the medical field is AI doesn't understand what they're saying, so it just puts what is something else to make up the word.
So I have used transcription AI software in video editing work to create a transcript from video material. And what I have found is your advice or your guidance is on point. So there's a difference between using AI to do that type of work, or there is for most people who go on YouTube. YouTube gives you the option to get to see captions, which involves a bit of transcription being done by the software itself, so that it gives you an approximation of what is being said.
You have used it, and that's a most appropriate word choice, approximation.
So in my experience, what I have found, well, the one that I use requires me to input my voice saying different things so that it can improve on its ability to know what I'm saying based on my accent and based on the way how I say words. So that is what improves its accuracy. Now, a courtroom doesn't.
In other words, you are training the software.
I am training it. No, a courtroom doesn't have that luxury for people to come in.
Exactly.
No, I am sure that, again, not all transcription software AI is created equal. I think what you're saying here is that when you're stepping into that, make sure that you are not just assuming that AI is a perfectly working technology. And
that's number one.
And that you have different degrees of quality with particular software. And if you get what they call a consumer level AI, it is going to be more inaccurate. If you spend on, you get a very expensive service. But unlike the work that I'm doing, it's important for me to be accurate. But when you're talking about the transcripts from a court case, accuracy down to the last.
Absolutely.
You're talking here.
So you can't rule out the human factor.
Mm-mm.
And I don't know what is the quality of the language, quality of the human factor. I don't know that. But I know belief. And I know that the cases are won and lost, have been won and lost in the United States most on a comma. Just a comma. Because when you transcribe, nobody's reading to you, oh, comma here. I don't speak and say, good morning, Mose, period. How are you, Mose? Question mark. Nobody speaks like that. You, the listener, have learned what is the punctuation that follows each of those bodies of words, those sets of words. You learn that automatically in the course of your development from infanthood to adulthood. So you learn that, and you automatically make that in your mind. But nobody speaks and says, well, the comma is here, after the colon is there. You have to know that, and I argue that religions don't know that. That's a part of the problem. So I'm hoping that they are going to take that into consideration. But as I said, I am presenting this problem to the Belizean public for their understanding. In the case of the medical records now in America, people are, and in Europe, people are opting to not, they don't, especially when they don't want their material out in the, because that is out in the crowd. They don't want their personal confidential health material out in the crowd. That's starting with one. Then two, they are horrified that wrong information about their health is being transmitted. So some people are opting, no, I don't want that, I want a clause. I don't know if they want to go to legislation or not, to say, no, I don't want this thing recorded and transcribed that way. Let's do it, whatever is the old-fashioned way that got it done better, let's do it that way. So all of that has now entered as concerns in the medical field. And I would consider the legal field and the medical field to be fields equally, where exactitude is equally important. Don't you agree?
Well, I think they have the same quality of priority when it comes to accuracy.
Yes.
For different reasons.
That's the first reason I'm calling
I didn't give that a consideration. My initial, just what occurred to me is like, how do we end up falling short or being deficient in that particular area? Like this seems to be like a high priority thing to be on top of.
You mean you're talking about the absence of notes and all of that?
Yes.
I can't figure that out at all. And imagine we are just now hearing about that.
That's an incredible deficiency.
Isn't it? And then what is even more worrisome, so in order to make up the deficiency, you're going to look for something that can accelerate the process. But it's that accelerator that might create more mess than we're already in. I think that is how I see that. I agree with you. I thought, what? Nobody ever said this was a problem before. That the appellate, so when do they get their note? And if they get it, do they get everything? Do they get it incomplete?
So have some cases been decided at the appellant level on erroneous transcripts?
Exactly, Mose. Exactly. So I thought of all of that. I thought, wow, none of that sounds right. And the situation is going to be made a million times worse if in rushing to correct it now, you decide, well, let me inject the technological factor, but you don't understand the technological factor, so you're going to end up in a bigger mess than you already are. So that's my first reason for calling. My second reason for calling was, I'm going to go to the cane farmers and the fishermen issue that you brought up. I don't know if it was yesterday or Monday.
Yesterday.
Well, let me start with the blue bond. If you check your records, you will find that immediately the blue bond was being negotiated, I proceeded to have an opinion on the matter, and it wasn't a positive one. And the base of my argument is, We have not used mortgage national land for any sovereign debt. That is the reason sovereign debts are so problematic, because they cannot be secured. They are secured on a country's honesty and commitment to doing the right thing and all of that. But they have never been secured on land in the 20th century that I know of. And I saw the blue bond as a securing program where you're using national territory to secure a loan. Now you're using the seabed, which for me is even worse, because we are surrounded by sea, and so if there's a portion that's secured, is it possible that one day that area of the sea I can't pay will have to be turned over to somebody? So when I want to get out of my waters, I am going to have to negotiate my way around and about and under, I don't know. These are the people's waters. And will the area space over those waters be considered my national area space or the debtor's area space? Bearing in mind that the debtor debt has been secured by a national corporation, the International Development Corporation of the United States. So that was my absolute objection from the beginning. But nobody joined in, Mose, including the Fisher Society community. It's only now that I'm hearing them clamoring. But you're clamoring late in the day. You still could clamor, but you're clamoring late in the day. Why? Well, I don't know if it was yesterday or last week. Was it you or was it in a discussion I got the explanation that they had sought monies from the Blue Bond.
The president had called in and had,
the Blue Bond fund.
Yeah.
And they didn't get it. So I was left to conclude, okay, so as long as you all had gotten the money, you would have had anything to say about a matter that should have been spoken about strongly from the very beginning. Now, let's go to the cane farmers. You all ran an item the other morning on Mr. Martinez, the minister, I don't know what he is now, supporting a grant, I think it's a grant from the Green Climate Fund in South Korea, of $50 million for the cane farmers, for the cane farming enterprise of North. And according to Mr. Martinez, this $50 million, at least what I understood him to say, is to deal primarily with three matters. One, to assist in a variety change of cane being planted that will be more resilient. Two, fertilization, and three, irrigation. Did you hear that? Did you hear that news item?
I don't know if I think it's the CEO, Mr. Several Baiza. I don't know that it's. I heard.
The one I heard speaking was Mr. Martinez.
Okay, the one I heard was Mr. Several Baiza.
Oh well then. Anyway, no, I called him that same morning and pointed out, because two things the Prime Minister commented on Mr. Trump on this. And I said, but yes, fertilization is necessary. Yes, resilience. But that is not going to solve the problem as described by the BSI CEO. He said the problem is the rain caused a muddy harvest out there that's mud resistant? I don't know any. And which variety you have out there that will absolutely be able to resist increased water content and the sucrose doesn't get affected? If there is such a variety, Mose, it's a highly genetically modified variety, if there is such a variety. So while those things are true, the real problem is climate. You need to stabilize the climate. And Belize has to, if nobody else wants to lead the struggle now to stop the melting of Greenland, Belize ought to be at the front of the line. If nobody else wants to stop it. We have a reason to stop it. Going off mode and looking for a little money here and a little money there, which really is not to do what it says, but it's to compensate the farmers for law, financial law, to ensure that they give you their vote in an election is unacceptable, what's unacceptable, and continues to be unacceptable. But it's utterly dangerous. Now, why has the danger increased more? I don't know if you're aware that the UN had established a banking alliance subscribed to by major banks more. They were not going to be participating in funding carbon dangerous projects, which means oil companies and so on. Well, the American banks, not only America, because now the Canadians have joined it, withdrew from that alliance. They have abandoned their land. And I have listened to two discussions, one with an expert from University of Texas, which is the center of the oil industry of the United States, and green energy. Apparently, according to the analysts, most of the patents on the green energy are owned by the universities there in Texas. At least that is my understanding. While China is the biggest producer of solar panels, that technology, the origins of it, rest in the United States. So he doesn't feel, that analyst doesn't feel that the push of the Trump government to dismantle the private concerned efforts is going to be successful. He doesn't feel the efforts are going to be successful. To an extent, he feels that all Mr. Trump will succeed in slowing down, but we don't even want him to slow it down. We don't want nothing. We don't want no slowdown, because slowdown will keep on the ride. So he feels that the only thing he may succeed in getting is slowing down. Another analyst, he's from Yale, he can't make up his mind what is going to happen. So they only need analysts ever come up with these programs, but they themselves don't know. But what we know is a fact. They want to melt Greenland. And Greenland should not be melted, period. And everybody in the Caribbean and Latin America, if nobody else believes can mobilize, should be mobilizing our region. That cannot happen because you're asking us to die, man. You're asking us to sign on to our death warrant. So I don't understand more. I understand. We're going for money, but that money doesn't really solve no problem. It can't solve it. It's only to buy time. And for me, it's to buy political time. Political time. So if that money is ready to buy political time, then buy political time to the fishermen too, as far as I'm concerned. If the both you, the picking farmers and the fisher people are going to deliver your boat on the basis of a little money given to you, then that's your decision and the state of your soul. But that is really what is happening, because you're not going to solve the problem. We are going to have continuous increases in losses of harvest because of the climate.
But can we completely abandon mitigation and adaptation efforts? I completely accept that we have to be all in on putting pressure on the global indifference to the baking of the planet. But simultaneously, we also have to, we cannot simply have a hands-up approach. Now, what I know of the Green Climate Fund, and it's possible it has changed, but I know that there was great difficulty in the region to be able to go through the application process to get the funds, to a point where they felt that the creators of the fund that they created this big illusion, but that you cannot touch it because of just how much strings and how much regulatory elements they put and conditions they put into those funds. It's possible that that has changed because I have not had that kind of contact for a while, but I know that regionally there was a great concern about the fact that the accessing of the fund and the conditions of the fund were deemed to be problematic. So I don't know, but it's always possible that the way that those funds can be applied can be in a way that is just pure, like a hands-out charity or something like that. I would hope that the funds, and it's the one little bit of money for that really the teaspoon for try bail out on boat. But ultimately, at the very least, you cannot use the money in a way that in any way diverts away from maximizing the way how, and I completely agree with you. I never studied botany, but it seems to me that it's a long shot to find a strain of cane that can deal with the yeah, but still
you would have to find a kind of cane that has oil. I have been putting my brain through. So what kind of cane? The only kind of cane I know would be a cane that's built like a pig.
I think
you put outer covering of that.
I think you'd have to create. I think where you would seem, at least in my head, seem a more advantageous approach is to try to figure out the lay of the land and the sloping of the land and the irrigation of the land, to somehow try to minimize the amount of water that is absorbed in the soil, since it seems that excess.
Exactly. One of the problems in the north is that the river needs to be cleaned out. That the river is when it rains, in an ordinary hurricane, forget about climate change, Orange Grove will flood, the cane fields will flood for a long time. People are out of their property, so that is why not solve those kinds of problems? But that will only be a partial solution, because you can't go and change the whole lay of the land. You can't raise that. What about a national seawall? What about a national coastal forest? What about those things? While you're dealing with fighting, you see, Mose, all around Greenland was not in the discussion. Is that right or wrong?
Yeah.
Greenland is now in the discussion. And we cannot overlook it, not understand it, bypass it. We cannot. Because the people dealing with that Greenland project are dead serious about it. Dead serious about it. It was not in the discussion at all. It was not on the table.
I think for those who were not sure, now you get a sense of whether you like the new administration in Washington or not. One of the things they cannot be criticized for is for a lack of commitment to the things they have said they want to do and they intend to do. They are extremely.
It's a religious commitment.
They are the intensity.
It is what we are dealing with now in the European world and it child across the Atlantic, the American world, is something that, well, the Caribbean, I for sure believe, has very little understanding of, because we never felt that European history was important for us to understand. We didn't feel that. So now, this is what we are dealing with, and they are religiously committed. The commitment they have is of a religious type, but they are all disparate religious groups, all disparate, so they can't unify religion. But they could unify with religious intensity on matters, and that is what they have done. They are all committed religiously intensely to this matter, to the matter at hand. And this Greenland is at the center of it. And even if no matter what else we don't pay attention to, we cannot, if we didn't know about Greenland most, you could have begun the remedying of the problem to a point. You cannot remedy any part of the problem now unless you deal with Greenland. Greenland cannot be on the table for melting down. Period. It cannot be on the table. And humanity as a whole needs to tell these people, take it off the table, otherwise it's better we agree to die now than down the road. Because that is what will come. You know the amount of water that will be released into the ocean if that place was down. Not to mention that we will have nothing to alter the heat at the equator. And we live near the equator. You won't have anything to modify, alter that, because as Greenland melts, so will Antarctica. So we don't have, in my opinion, we don't have a choice. We like to run. We feel that these things are too big for a little non-entity. We are no non-entity in Almighty God's sight. And under the rule, we are all made in the image of Almighty God. All of us. No matter whether you're Muslim, Greek, Chinese, black, it don't matter. They are not living there. The very principle they taught us, they are not living. Well, we have to make up our mind where we are heading.
I have to go to break though, Ms. Corey, so thanks very much for your contribution. We go to 2 Cent Scam, sponsored by 4 Point Security, then we take our first break of the conversation. We'll be right back.
You're watching WUB, and this is XTV. All right, I gotta say big respect to our sponsors, 4 Point Security and Euphrates Rental. The old look. Are you guys ready for the new look? The new currency is about to touch down in June or July. So make sure you guys keep a copy of the old look. Let's go find out the people at 2 cents. How they feel about the new currency for the country. How you feel about the new money, like the look?
No, man.
Compared to what we used to.
Well, I'll be honest, man. Well, where I born, I grew up with the Queen, and the money look.
But take the Queen out there.
All right.
That we don't get sense why they change it.
Yes, sir.
No, make we deal with
the looks.
No. Yes.
Well, I'll be honest with you. Well, the looks kind of like pay so you get salary to deal with.
All right.
You know? But at the same time, that's free money anyway.
Yeah.
And we have to spend free money, we have to make free money, and we have to spend free money.
So please it or not please it?
I have to please it, but I can't change it.
All right. That's your 2 cents.
That's my 2 cents.
Right.
I'm more than satisfied with the looks of the money, man. We look good.
So you don't got a problem with how you look?
No.
Compared to what we used to?
Well, and I got a problem with the money, man. The money look good. They could have put me on the money too. All of we look good. We look good.
You don't like all the money? You not satisfied with the new look compared to what we used to?
No.
You're not satisfied with it? Why? You look... What you look?
Stupid.
That's your 2 cents.
Yeah.
Right. Value of the money is the same, right? Yeah, that's what they say, but to me, for some... Yeah, but to me, for some reason...
The thing with we, Crawford, we complain about everything.
Yeah.
Nobody
No
no
matter
complain
that
about
they change, but then they change bad.
But then they go right to Mexico and use the same looking money, right?
Yes, but we use that cross there. We not use that here.
Thank you.
You understand? Brick, you understand me?
Yeah. That's why I asked you. Here's the question I asked. The two things I asked if you're satisfied with the look at the money. I don't want to come and say, well, to me the money look like, but everybody say the same thing. Yeah.
I think we need to put we people saying about free money.
Alright.
Because basically I don't think we're in the English system anymore. Right?
But
Because we're supposed to be independent.
Yeah, but
supposed
what
to
is
be.
it the value?
That's not the value. I mean, come on, that's not never the value. I won't say never, yeah, never the value, but not because the change certain procedures for my money meaning the value. No.
All right, well, teach me something there. You teach me something there. What you think? You say you don't see it yet, but I guarantee when you see, it just don't look like we're used to.
Yeah, well, I only hear from the kids they say you look like Guatemalan money or something like that, you know. Yeah, the only thing I just hope that the money no devalue like when they change up the face.
That your two say?
Yeah, that's my thing that.
See, look, the new look compared to what we used to.
No, I'm not satisfied, period.
Why you have to why?
Well, because I already used to Miss Elizabeth.
All right. But yeah, be in the value or no?
How you know that?
Yeah.
No, I want to know how you know that. Because we don't know what happened 5 years from now.
That your two things?
Yeah.
All right, welcome back to the WB Wake Up Belize Morning Vibes. Mose Hyde in the house with you on this Wednesday morning, 29th of January 2025. So yesterday there was a circling of a document on social media that purports to have a breakdown of all the different, but let me take this call. Krem, good morning, WB.
Morning, Mose. Nigel Martinez here from the Belize Federation of Fishers.
Morning, bro.
Yes, man. I just want to put some context to what Ms. Koye was saying. I didn't catch as much as I wanted to, but just to share some additional information now. The BFF has categorized the fishing sector modes into three categories. One, those fishers who want to fish sustainably. Two, those who are opportunists. And three, those who are outright pirates. So while we say that we are the voice for the commercial fishers, it's just a percentage of the fishing sector that we really and truly represent. Why am I saying this, Mose? I am saying this because I don't think, and it's not only my opinion, but the opinion of the Federation, that it is too late for us to push back on the Blue Bond Agreement. If you recall, about a week ago, I had called into the radio station and I was very explicit in stating and suggesting how it is that we arrived to the Blue Bond. We came from the Euro Bond, we then went to the Super Bond, we went to Super Bond 1, Super Bond 2, and then we went to the Blue Bond. Now, the reason why I am saying it is not too late because there are several additional milestones that need to be met in order for this deal to be fulfilled. And one of the major milestones is that the government of Belize has to sign into law the 30% of our seas. That's one of the major milestones that has to sign into law. And if we continue to push back, we can force some kind of changes. I do not know what that changes may look like, but I think that we can. We have to be optimistic. We are talking about the mortgaging of our seas. What the government did, and I'll take a step forward just so that the colleagues and the listeners can get some clarification. And I beg your listeners to visit the BBC, this radio documentary by BBC. The name is Cross Continent Belize Blue Bond. And in that document, the Minister Koye stated categorically that before his administration took government, he was familiar with the project. The reason why he was familiar with the project was because he was a lawyer for TNC. And not only was he a lawyer, but the country director, the previous country director, I should say, was his first cousin. So he had inside knowledge of what was about to take down, what was about to go down. We have to understand more that this was a secret negotiation for about a year. One secret negotiation, nobody knew, just TNC and specific people on the government side. And that is why I have a serious issue with TNC, because they have been in this country for 30 years, more 30 years. And they have been watching, they have been directing, and they made a significant strike at the correct time. And whether we want to call it inside trading or whatever, the point is that the government had knowledge, along with TNC, that this was about to go down. And they categorically ensured that the fishing community, one of the major stakeholders, do not benefit will not benefit and was left out of this agreement. So it's not so much that we are just making noise or we are just trying to push back. We have been pushing back more. Listen, this agreement was signed in 2021. In 2022, we started to push back. Even if we had gotten the grant, we would have still pushed back because the grant was only a fraction more. It was only a small percentage. It was not even going to make up half of the fishing community. Beyond that, when we did a deep dive into understanding the nature of this agreement, that was when we rallied with our members to decide how is it that we are going to push back on the government, because you have to remember, Mose, it's just the fishers alone. The NGO community, they are in no support. Why am I saying that? Because we have to understand that their bread and butter is taken care of for the next 40 years. For the next 40 years, the conservation community bread and butter has been taken care of. And that was specifically and strategically done by TNC. Because they are taking care of their people. They are making sure that the bulk of this money is going to go into consultancies. There's no real money going on the ground. There's none. The conservation community from this Blue Bond agreement is earning $364 million more. We could take that into consideration. Okay. $364 million they get off of this deal. What if Fisher folks didn't get? Nothing. Nothing more.
So you're saying just to kind of deal with the point made by our caller that just so you're saying on the record that you guys have been pushing back since 2022.
We have been pushing back since 2022.
Okay.
We reach out to them, and you have to remember, Mose, there are still information that is lacking that we are seeking to request from them. There are still information that we cannot get our hands on because, as I have mentioned, that this is a part of their secret negotiation. They don't want the public to understand and recognize what has taken place. And that's the reason why when I articulate what I said, I meant categorically because those are facts. Those are facts, Mose. When you look at the amount of interest that this blue bond is going to earn, we are paying interest for the first 10 years. For the first 10 years of this mortgage, we are paying completely loan interest. You understand? And during that time, the economic and the ecologic side of the pillar of sustainability is being achieved. The social component, you talk about people's livelihood, people's well-being, they ignore that completely. As I mentioned, out of the 15%, out of the 30%, 15% they say, hey, it's a no take. You don't know I touch this thing at all. They can't dictate to we. So if we livelihood no matter, then they say the next 15 and just fight up and kill up on themselves over it. So none of that we are the pushback mode, we the pushback.
Okay.
And the point where the chirping across is that you have a sector of the fishing community that they just don't give a damn anymore. They realize that these people have been using them for decades. They have been requesting grants and loans and stuff in their name for decades, and still they don't benefit any at all. Recently, you had the MCAP project, over $5 million US grant they got, Mose. Over $1 million went into consultancy. What part today? We're in the same situation. You know, I have said categorically, if you go back 30 years, Mose, that
we have been in sustainable fishing and conservation. 30 years, this country has been receiving grants after grants after grants. Why is it that our fish stocks decline? Why is it that we constantly see protection here, protection there, and you still not see the benefit of those marine protected areas? Why? Because there's a series of corruption taking place within the conservation community. There's a series, and you have one sector, a small group that I have been referencing consistently, which is the come along, get along group. And this is a group that you can't be a part of it, click. You cannot, because your mouth has to stay shut. And the PFF is very outspoken, and nobody knows shut up we. Nobody. So we have been pushing back, and we have been saying, hey, since we don't do this, we need to be fair share. You can't just kick me to the side and ignore us. You know, more I have said in 2023, the government of Belize and the Fisheries Department went to the IDB and they got a loan for $7 million US. And out of that $7 million US more, they still can't tell me whether they still can't provide us with a stock assessment. They still cannot show us why is it that we are being, or our species are being declined. And we know the reason more. We know because we are overfished. We know that because we have an open access fishery. Right? We know that we have major challenges with enforcement, but they're not like only we know. TNC know it as well, and they know it for the last 30 years. But what have they done? They blindsided that. They use their connection between the country director and the minister to ensure that this deal gets finalized. And when they do more, they turn around and they charge us $14 million US to conduct this deal. $14 million US. And besides that, they set up a colleague in the States, 2 insurance companies to benefit from this deal. Because one insurance we know for sure is making $800,000 US annually. The next insurance, we still try to find out information on that. Just to be sure how secretive this deal.
Nigel, I gotta go to break, but thank you for calling in.
All right, brother.
Yeah, man.
No respect.
All right, we go to break. We'll be back. 13 minutes after 8 o'clock, welcome back to the WUB Wake Up Belize Morning Vibes. Mose Hyde hosting today. And we remind you that this is a conversation, but it cannot be that if you no call. We have a call. Krem, good morning, WUB.
Yes, good morning, Brother Mose.
Good morning.
Yes, just my with you, my brother.
Yeah, greetings.
Yes, man. Just carrying on from the other two callers, Mose, Ms. Corey and Brother Nigel Martinez. Mose, I'll comment on two things. One, the two major injection of finances / support went to farmers in the form of the Green Climate Fund. Kudos to Dr. Martinez. I think that it has been, Dr. Martinez really, the CEO and now Deputy Minister. I think that it has been a major initiative to garner the level of support that he has for cane farmers with $60 million worth. One, two, in relation to fishers, I think that Nigel has really done a fantastic job in terms of talking about the Blue Band and some of the potential benefits to the fisheries sector. If I were to kind of couch this more in terms of a label, I would say it's really a tale of two demographics. We know that within the literature we talked about a tale of two cities. This is a tale of two demographics. Generally, farmers and fishers are quite different. Fishers tend to be independent-minded. They are really hunter-gatherers. And definitely when they're at work, they're at sea, and from an organization standpoint, you can't reach them. They're at sea working. The other time you will see farmers in numbers at any one place would be at the beginning of the lobster season, at the beginning of the cold season, when they're in port, basically getting ready to load up on supplies and equipment to go to sea. You'll also see your fishers at their annual general meeting for the cooperatives. That is when you see them. Outside of that, it's hard to get them. So in terms of organizing fishers, very, very difficult, Mose.
I would add that another significant challenge is that sugarcane farmers are ethnically and geographically concentrated.
Yes.
Fishers are across the coastline. There you have fishers off in Hopkins, in Dangwiga, fishers off of Belize City, fishers off of Sartinea, Kapapang, Chinoch, on the islands. So it is not it's a very daunting task to bring that together. And we know that from time to time you do have cultural divides, language divide. So there is a built-in obstacles to trying to create consensus.
Definite, Mose. The two different demographics. Certainly, Mose, in terms of the farmers, we have to find sugarcane farmers as it relates to the Green Climate Fund, which is substantial, Mose. It's $60 million. I just was out of a conference with Professor Google because I don't know much about it. But generally, what I gather is that much of the interventions, much of the benefit is more direct. So in terms of the farmers, they've been looking at new varieties of sugarcane. It's all related to climate resilience. They've been looking at replanting. That's major injection of assistance there. I suspect that, farmers would probably be benefiting from really some direct inputs in terms of access to varieties and really helping them to replant, which has financial costs. There's also the issue of managing moisture irrigation. One of the issues that I learned was over time is that in Belize, relative to, for example, Brazil, the Brazilians will be producing 2-3 times the amount of cane per acre versus Belize, and a lot of it has to do with irrigation. So I think that if Dr. Martinez and cane farmers have brought together a project where they could increase and improve productivity and variety. Very, very good. There's also the issue of knowledge. They'll be building knowledge in relation to how do you cope with climate catastrophe. So, long story short, Mose, for the farmers, the benefit is immediate, and the outcome and output, I think, would be immediate, because once you have your crop in at the ground, I think that it's a kind of couple months before you reap and harvest.
But you would have to accept that the Green Climate Fund would have to have endless monies for us to be able to deal with the ravaging impact of climate change gone wild. There's not enough money available to try to just spend away and survive with some kind of runaway climate change scenario where, you know, we don't worry about the baking of the planet.
Right. Well, Mose, you know, the climate, I'll call it catastrophe, because that is what it is. Nobody's actually, you have been one of the more constant present at these COP conference of the party in terms of climate, and you know that there's a lot of promises and not much delivery. But certainly in terms of the Green Climate Fund, all people are benefiting, and they are benefiting, in my view, significantly. If you look at it more in terms of the inputs that enable productivity are being brought to bear with this.
But respond to me though, Brother George. I'm saying, we have to accept that the $50 million sound like a lot. Having the Green Climate Fund sounds like this great thing, and then these commitments to more money for blah 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 blah. But that there is no possible scenario where there is enough money to deal with the kind of adaptation and mitigation that you would have to do to deal with the impact of climate change running wild over the planet, and the planet just baking away. Like you don't have enough, but your focus you cannot just surrender the planet to whatever the climate wants to do, and we just continue to do business as usual, fossil fuels as business as usual, pumping carbon into their business as usual, to the point where now you have a strategic thinking that, well, we can be, we could, like they say, there is an opportunity in every calamity. And now you have these rich countries thinking, well, being led by the new president in Washington, Greenland might be a nice piece of real estate to have, because with its permafrost gone, it's going to be one of the best places on earth. Better we get in and run for that. Make we get that. So so when you have the empire starting to look at advantages it can secure for itself in the midst of what you call the climate catastrophe, that the implications for Belize and our survival are not very good.
You're absolutely right, Mose. I think it's a question of scale. This project that we have is obviously a kind of local scale with the globe. I think that the larger question of where are we headed, it's really downhill. I think that Ms. Corey, that was on earlier, I think that she kind of hit the nail on the head in terms of saying, you know what, there's a storm coming, and it's...
The storm is here. The storm is here. The storm is here.
The storm is on us.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of whether or not you're willing to bear the consequences now or later. There's a short-term impact, and then there's a kind of long-term. And long-term, I put quote unquote, because as we know, I'm kind of digressing here, that Venus, it is thought, was once a mild planet, but there has been a runaway greenhouse on the planet Venus, where now temperatures, daytime temperatures are 700 to 800 degrees centigrade. This is what we're trying to collectively avoid conceptually for the planet Earth, but it's not happening, Mose. I think that certainly this change in Washington at the political level, where there's a new president in town, and his the mantra is drill, baby, drill. It's putting more carbon in the atmosphere, and it will get worse before it gets better. And you, Mose, would be in a better position than me to say how close we are to the edge. I do have conversational familiarity with what is going on.
There's been a updating of the projections from the calamity scenarios from 2050 have been brought forward by the UN-sponsored scientific analysis. It has been brought up into the mid-late 2030s. So we're talking about right up the street. There is constant concern about the what's the name of the current that moves the warm waters up north and bring the cool, the AMDAC. What is it called? AMOC? The AMOC? I think it's.
I'm not sure, Mose.
It's the AMOC. I think it's. But it's this current that essentially is the conveyor of heat away, and the concern is what will happen if that current collapses. And the problem with figuring out when that would happen is that they don't have enough historic data to be able to make the projection, and they're starting to do different things. But I think last year there was some indication that they feel like, this thing is more serious than they thought. But I'm just saying here that the projections are becoming more grim. Every time they update them, it's not, we have more time. Every time they update them, is that we have less time.
Not so sure, Mose. And I think that when we talk about climate change, generally people think about temperature, but it's the consequences of the temperature that people are not fully appreciating. But we'll brief on, really. In terms of that current that runs from Japan and circles around the Cape of Africa and comes all the way, I think, midway between the Atlantic, midway between the Americas and the Atlantic, and then it goes north. Ocean transport, ocean currents, when they die, it will have, if they depot, it will have severe consequences, the ocean current. To your point, I think that what we want to avoid, and it's the 11.99 hour at this point, is you want to avoid that tipping point where you want to run away greenhouse effect, where regardless of what you do, you're heading towards a catastrophe. And to be frank with you, Mose, I like to say that I'm an eternal optimist, but even an eternal optimist has its limits. I don't see that the interventions can be made now, certainly with the political changes in Washington and perhaps other places. So we're in for a tough, for a rough ride.
At the very least, I think there is a resignation that the small island states led a lot out of the Caribbean and the work that has been done in the Caribbean, where they were really pushing that we cannot allow temperature rise to go beyond 1.5. It seems that there is a feeling that even if we were to start to do everything right now, we cannot avoid that particular threshold, that it is going to go beyond 1.5, and the implications for low-lying nation states in the region, Belize, the Caribbean, it's not good. And so, but let me ask you this though, because the concern with any of these funds is, it's like we know our nature, that we tend to be more concerned about our politics than any and everything that is happening. The concern that the accessing funds is just a matter to kind of quiet the baby. What you have described, the initiatives that will be taken that will be done for this $50 million coming from the Green Climate Fund. Is it your understanding, since it's a terrain that you have navigated insofar as getting grants, and so what have you heard similar, that the Green Climate Fund is a tightly managed implementation and regulatory process?
That is what I understand. So it's not a freebie. It's not that Belize will access or is accessing this $50 million, and it will be parceled out in terms of, let us say, and Sandra mentioned it, kind of gift for elections. I think that has to be carefully qualified. If you're bringing benefits, it's not just passing out the money. It's basically improving the infrastructure and the services to cane farmers that will put them in a position to be more productive and to survive economically. But certainly it's not a freebie. I think that Belize generally has kind of developed a bad reputation. There's some experiences with the EC funding where some funds have been diverted a couple of years ago to areas where they were not expected to be diverted, and Belize was made to pay back those funds. I was told. I don't know that.
There have been issues with the fair trade monies. There have been issues with that. With that.
Yeah. So they have a tight rein on, well, also, and I guess other developing nations in relation to
they know how we stand. They know how we stand, no? They know
that, no.
All right, brother.
But I don't want to lose that my train of thought. But I just want to round this up by saying that I can see the cane farmers kind of benefiting immediately because of the nature of cane farming, etc. In relation to the intervention that has been made for the Blue Band, where there is a tranche of fund called the Conservation Fund, and there's some initiatives that could benefit fishers, but we kind of indirectly, when you look at the outlay of for example, the Conservation Fund, it's $4 million per annum, but everybody is in it. Essentially a fisheries department, a forest department. A lot of it will be used for patrolling, a lot of it will be used for stock assessment, etc. The problem that we have most is that there's no direct benefit coming to fishers. There's nothing by way of supporting diversification, because most we're at a point, I use the word tipping point, in terms of fisheries, where the stocks have been depleted, and they're being depleted mainly because of, but not only because of, but mainly because of overfishing. And that overfishing most is being driven by too many fishers on a limited real estate in terms of the geography of it. You do know most that a part of the arrangement in this kind of depth for nature initiative that has become a part of the Blue Band is that fishers have the geographic space for them to fish, and the productive grounds for them to fish is shrinking. So it's not just the geographic space, but a fair amount of what is now being placed in no-take marine protected areas are very productive areas that fishers needed to fish. I would touch on the issue of what I call prior informed consent. There was no consultation with the fishing community prior to, and to another extent during the implementation of the Blue Band arrangement modes. What you're getting in terms of conversation with fishers is it's fixed already. All the arrangements have been made between the parties, TNC, the government of Belize, and the Blue Band holders, and there's nothing you can do about it. That is the narrative. I think that the point made by Nigel, that Minister Cowie was inferentially saying that I hope that fishers benefit from the Conservation Fund. I think it's a point well made, because I don't think that it is too late for that. I believe that what we have currently is that a fair amount of the funds most, we're going to consultancies and they will go into salaries as a blue bond unit, and of course there'll be nothing left. There's not much left. There's no grant for fishers. One, and whatever funds are allocated to loans, it's still affordable for fishers. They have access, but they have access to a limited amount of funds in terms of loans, but I would be surprised if fishers as a group can qualify first of all, because they are small stakeholders, and even the ones that they qualify, I would suspect that there would be a huge delinquency in terms of repayment. Long story short, most, I believe that we really need to see if there's space in there for a reset to allow fishers to more directly benefit most. I use the term diversification most. And one of the areas that we have flagged is quote-unquote deep sea fishing. I believe that the potentials are kind of limited. It's not, I think when you talk about deep sea fishing, most people have the opinion that there's this wide open ocean space that has been unexplored, really not so. The exclusive economic zone of Belize is very, very limited. One, two, the ecological system is still mainly deep waters. And the only places that you have productive systems are really associated with the reef. It's really a demersal bottom water fishing. And if you look at where the reef is, in terms of the, for example, the exclusive economic zone, most, there is not much.
All right, I gotta go to break. I gotta thank you for the call, but I gotta go to break. Thank you very much.
I will. Thanks also.
Break. We'll be back. welcome back to the WUB Wake Up Belize Morning Vibes on this Wednesday morning, the 29th of January 2025. Krem, good morning, WUB.
On that note, I'm trying to understand the discussion that was taken place with Sir Mr. Martinez, Mr. Nigel Martinez, is that the surname? And Mr. Myris. Let me go to sugar and sucrose and this fertilization because the other Mr. Martinez, I think his name is Osman, he gave, at least as I understood from the report, he gave 3 priority areas that the Green Fund 50 million would be used for. One of them is fertilization. So it's known that the cane farmers don't get to put on their land the amount of fertilizer they ought to be putting. And so the sucrose yield is not as good as it would be if the fertilization regime was the correct one. So fertilization isn't a problem, but where it becomes a problem is this mode. In the context of what the CEO for BSI described as the reason for the shortfall this year, mud and sucrose, low sucrose content. So you fertilize your fields, and let us say if you never fertilized your fields and there was no rain, your sucrose would have been 8. You fertilize and you can push your sucrose up to 12. If it had rained without fertilization, your sucrose would drop to 5, let us say. But you put in fertilization, your sucrose can rise. You will lose the 5. You will still lose 3, but because you did the fertilization, you have an additional 3, so you're still at 8. But you were at 8 without fertilization, you know. It rained and rained every day, and the sucrose got diluted, and so you were down to 5. But because you fertilized, you managed to hold it at 8. Well, Mose, isn't that 20 million now is what you needed to keep the sucrose at a more acceptable level? So what amount you're going to need the next time, the next harvest? It is an unending, it's a chain that doesn't end. So while fertilization, while you're using part of the fund for fertilization, that's fine, but it's fertilization that's going to go to waste anyway, because the sucrose will be reduced because of the rain. There's a factor in there that has nothing to do with applying for. If there were no rain, your sucrose could rise to 11, let us say. But because there is rain, the sucrose will drop by 3, so you're still at 8. You're not at the size that you would have been without the fertilization. But it's the point you made. It's an unending throwing money. And how much more you're going to keep throwing. So I don't see how they can't see that this is not an economic decision, this is a political decision. And I'm not saying PUP and UDP is a political decision to hold on to keep the cane farming community in your corner. They need fertilization, you know, Mose. Fertilization in the midst of Mose, what is the name of it? Noah and the archive rainfall, man, you know, go in. So that's number 1. Number 2, let's take the fisher problem. There is a massive migration of tropical fish into the northern waters. This has been going on for some time. And as a consequence, the northern animals are under attack. Seals, walruses, etc., the northern fish are under attack. The tropical fisheries, stupid aggressive. Some food. How will save this situation here? If you get by doing everything possible to hold on the temperatures at the equator, whatever advocate is needed to hold on the temperatures, because as the temperatures rise at the equator, the equatorial fish stocks are moving north to get out of the heat. Then the northern fish have nowhere to go. They're in warming water. They're not going to come south. They're under attack. You see? So that brings me now to my next question, to my question or the observation. If I understood the input rightly, well, I don't know if I need to combine both. The blue bond, they acknowledge there's a mortgage problem. Now we are being told, which I didn't know before, that the Minister, Mr. Curry, seems to have used insider knowledge in his support of the blue bond. Is that, am I understanding that rightly?
I think the insider knowledge was an accusation made against TNC. What the allegation is against Minister Corey is that he was a part of, because of having a family relation to somebody very prominent in TNC. I guess it seems like he said, well, he was a part.
I never heard that part. So he has a family member connected to TNC?
I think that's what I heard.
Oh, but I thought I heard that he had been their lawyer.
There was some family member thing involved that was put out there. I would have to go.
We don't know what it is, but there seems
He used to be the lawyer, and then there was also something about a relative.
Oh, okay, that part I didn't know. I heard the lawyer part, but I didn't hear the other part. No, this is the first time hearing of that. How in heaven's name that was not put on the table from the beginning? Did you know about that from the beginning?
I'm hearing about it now.
Me too. I'm just hearing about it. Okay, that's number 2. Number 3, I heard, if I heard rightly, that they didn't get a copper. Is that in quotes? Did I hear correctly? The Fisher Folk did get a copper out of this one, the one that was created. Isn't that what I heard?
They have not gotten anything out of it.
Well, I thought I heard the word copper. I'm using the word copper to stress. But nothing. No. So then I am not at war with the sugar farmers nor the Fisher Folk. What I am at war with is unprincipled behavior that promotes our undoing. So to mortgage the seabed is bad only if you do get something out of the fund. Am I right in understanding that one? Because my position is absolute. It should never have been mortgaged, period. Worse now that you went and got political risk from a national structure. All of that horrified me then and horrified me now and will continue to horrify me. So, for me, that money is tainted. Period. No, not an inch of the region, sovereign territory should have been committed in alone, because this has not been the matter mode. Particularly when it's supposed to have been a private lending situation there, turned public, it just became a mess. Is that what you understood? Am I understanding? Is my understanding right or wrong on that matter?
My understanding of what has been presented here is one, that they were never consulted. So the first calls that I would get on this show about the Fisher Folk position on this is that how could they have ended up in a situation where they are the ones who have to pay the biggest price for this bond to be agreed upon, and they were never consulted as to whether they never had a choice in the matter.
I understand that.
And then secondly, they have they have
connected to that bond are wrong, are tainted.
well they have applied for the funds, so that would then say that they are not opposed or averse to the to getting benefits from the fund and the blue bond now, but that has not been.
That is what I'm trying to understand. If you heard what I heard, that we didn't get to share in any benefits. So am I to understand then and conclude that had permission been given to share in the benefits, we wouldn't be having, I am glad we're having the discussion on mortgage and all of that, don't get me wrong. I am glad that it is out to you. But my question is then, would it have been discussed if all had been kosher? And I say no, the thing is bad, wrong from the get-go. From the get-go, it's wrong. We actually participated in a mortgage of national territory. And this time now it's territory dispute. And remember, that has to be taken in the context of the expansion of the continental shelf of the United States, a massive expansion that took place just recently by virtue of redrawing according to the law of the sea. So they expanded their continental shelf. So my impression was that our leadership, sir, is not eternally vigilant. Do you get that? I don't get the impression they're eternally vigilant at all. I don't get the impression they're vigilant, period. Much less eternal. Do you get the understanding our leadership is vigilant more? Properly vigilant?
They are vigilant in some things. They're vigilant in looking out for their ambitions and their interests and stuff like that. But I would say that to some extent, if the fisher folk were, as they should have been, consulted, and they were told, well, this agreement is going to result in the 30% no-take zone, or 30% protected areas, 15% out of that becoming no-take zone. This expansion, which is to be made law in kind of with as the terms of the agreement next year in 2026, and the federation, I feel, started out pushing back against the fact that this thing has been done to them, and they were not a part of any of the conversations. In the midst of trying to survive what's going on with them, I would believe their membership is saying, well, since this has happened and you have signed this, then what's in it for us? And your position is that at this point in time, they should not want a single copper or any benefit at all. That they should draw a line on that.
Well, from the beginning, period. If everybody, see, what I don't understand is this mode. How come when the news came out, I can understand it, and they and all these other people, the conservation people had nothing to say about it. Absolutely nothing. So they know. They are trained. So they must have been willing, that's how the conservation were willing to go along with it. You see, that's the frightening part of it, Mose. That we constantly undermine ourselves and each other. We are our own worst enemy. The enemy out there is bad enough, but it's worse when you assist the enemy in undermining you. And don't you understand that we have participated in letting the external enemy undermine us?
I mean, that's a historic problem. That's a long tradition, really, of some of it I feel is the product of not being properly informed. It's challenging. The nature of fisher folk that offer the tune in to no talk shows. The nature of fisher folk that offer the nature of fisher folk, the way they are going to see. They're not people where they want to be preoccupied with the negotiations that will go on with the super bond and all of that. And then they're not, and it's not as if though the blue bond negotiations was something that was done to wide open view. It was not an open process. So to get caught off guard, I feel, and to be in a position where your future has been compromised and you were not aware of everything that was involved, while it's not desirable, to some extent I can understand how that happened. No.
I can understand how it happened too.
No. As you mentioned when you called initially, when you were commenting on what Nigel had to say, I think it was yesterday when he called or the day before, that it's late in the day, but you did concede that it's not like completely lost, just that it's late in the day.
Yes, I keep the same position I do.
And it would have been more ideal, obviously, for them to have joined in at the time. And you say we have to go to the I don't have to go to the records because I was hosting when you called and did your analysis of the blue bond and said that this was not something that we should do. I think another point that you made, which you didn't make this morning, was that the loan is now owned by bankers. It's no longer a bondholders thing where we
exactly.
Yeah, so that was one of the
and the bank that was used is a bank that is itself in crisis. Credit Suisse. So you just try to know how we get ourselves into all this mess. The very bank that arranged it, to make Mose into anyway, Mose, bye-bye, thank you.
We go to break and come back and close.
When you bank your way, it's amazing how much time
right, we are done for today. As always, we appreciate participation. It drives the conversation. And we're also extremely grateful to the team who make sure that you could see your career way. Creme Radio has Larry G, XTV has its glue, Cliff, directing this morning, Alex Bilal. Have yourself a great Wednesday. WB is going to be back. Shop opens at 6:30 tomorrow morning. As always, stand strong, stand firm. For now, we're gone!
Wake up, Billies. 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 Another day it's here. Wake up, Billies. Wake up, Billies. We gotta keep moving. Na 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 na. Wake up, Billies. Wake up, Billies. Everybody gotta put the time in. Wake up, Billies. Wake up, Billies. Voice our freedom and place of calling. WB. Be yourself, see yourself. This is just our people. Billies our hopes up to needless reason. Nobody feel left out. This the vibe we dealing. Let's find a solution. Yeah. Love, respect, selfishness and cooperation. That's all we need to build a strong nation. We are the people to make the changes. We are the changes. WB.